每年的全国两会是顶层设计密集释放、代表委员共商国事的重要平台，也是海内外舆论关注中国发展的重要窗口。今年释放了哪些关键信号？直播港澳台全国两会特别策划《外眼看两会》，聚焦海外权威学者和政商界领袖视角。本期对话罗兰贝格全球管理委员会联席总裁戴璞。罗兰贝格是知名的德国咨询公司，多年来帮助外资进入中国，也帮助中国企业出海，因此对全球的经济和政治脉搏的感知十分敏锐。
I'm sure that China can hit that 5% target. It's not so surprising that such a number, such a target has been set. But I think the context is a bit different from last year. So similar figure, but different context.
罗兰贝格管理咨询公司成立于1967年。中国实施改革开放后，外资企业赴华投资热情被点燃，但他们对中国的情况知之甚少，这就给咨询服务业创造巨大商机。1984年，罗兰贝格在中国开设第一家办事处。41年来，这家企业不断研究中国的各项政策以及各行各业，用咨询服务架起了一座外资和中国之间的桥梁。近年来，他们还拓展业务，协助中国企业出海。对于有不少境外舆论唱衰中国，说赚中国人的钱更难了，罗兰贝格全球管理委员会联席总裁戴璞以自身企业举例称，刚进入中国市场时，他们的客户几乎全都是西方跨国企业，但现在有超过80%业务收入来自中国企业。戴璞说，中国在发展，外资企业需要跟上中国市场的转型节奏。戴璞对深圳卫视表示，在中国政府每年发布的大量文件中，全国两会的政府工作报告是他最看重的之一。戴璞说，今年中国政府提升了赤字率，释放了1.6万亿元的投资，这将撬动数倍于此的商机。
It's massive. It signals strong support to the economy and having more resources to be able to support the economy in this transition. And also to shield it from these external shocks that I've mentioned, and to shield it through, again, leveraging domestic demand. And domestic demand is not only consumption from households, from you and me. It's also domestic demand from companies. It's also domestic investment.
In which areas do you think China is implementing policies to develop new productive forces?
Now China is transitioning to a new economy, and new quality productive forces is very much emblematic of raising the added value of whatever is produced in China, going from primary to intermediate, from intermediate to finished products, sophisticated products, embarking a lot of innovation, quite some Chinese leadership across industries. So everybody's talking about the automotive industry and the electric vehicle, of course. But we see it also in the construction material industry, in the chemical industry. We're starting to see it in the pharmaceutical industry as well. So in new materials. So there are many sectors or subsectors of the economy where all this investment to drive innovation enables some Chinese companies to be on par with global leaders, to become global leaders, not only in volume, but also in sophistication of their products.
今年春节以来，以 DeepSeek 为代表的中国科技产业在全球引发热潮，带动国际资本对 A 股、港股以及在华尔街交易的中国公司的价值重估，纷纷布局加仓。戴璞说，过去数年由于舆论片面叙事，中国资产被严重低估，现在外资恍然大悟。
What's your perspective on the recent wave of asset revaluation in China's capital markets, and how should foreign investors, such as your clients, integrate into this process?
First of all, I would be very cautious with the sort of short-term stock market valuations related to the DeepSeek moment. One thing is for sure is that generally speaking, Chinese assets have been undervalued in the last few years, and there has been a certain lead time to aligning expectation of the global investment community. What has not changed is companies, multinational that are present in China, continuing to invest in China with localization as a main purpose, reinvesting their profits. I think that's been noted by the American Chamber, by the European Chamber.
戴普在罗兰贝格中国行业趋势报告2025年度特别报告中写道，虽然国际环境波谲云诡，但出海已成为企业不可或缺的新增长极。过去1年，中国企业整体出海规模再创新高，对外投资额连续12年稳居世界前3，覆盖全球超80%的国家和地区。经历近20年的国际化发展，部分领先的中国企业海外营收占比已超过50%，盈利能力逐步优化。与此同时，国际化业务创造的新利润池，帮助企业更好地对冲国内业务波动与价格竞争，形成业务正循环，反哺国内市场业务。戴普认为，全球化是市场化的必然结果。面对关税战等全球化逆流，中国企业以推动全球化的方式加以应对，在激烈的竞争中强身健体。戴普说，他是法国人，现在服务于一家德国企业，这本身就是全球化的最好例子。
My observation with Roland Berger's clients in China is that gradually they're shifting to a more sophisticated internationalization strategy that entails building meaningful footprint overseas, building factories, buying companies, obviously in Asia, most likely in Europe, and probably as well in America. President Trump saying that the US would welcome Chinese investment, which was quite a new narrative. Now the US narrative is changing every week, so let's see what happens.
You mentioned that the US narrative is changing every week. I believe sometimes it changes every day, which adds to the uncertainty. So what are your thoughts on the latest tariff risks between China and the US? Is China prepared for this new tariff war after these years?
Nobody's ever completely prepared for the total uncertainty, but I would say that China is quite well prepared. First of all, because its economy has become more productive. I think there is quite some room for improvement of productivity. Tariffs are never good for the world economy. So Roland Berger has actually created multiple scenarios on the impact of U.S. tariffs and potential retaliation by either Europe, China, or other nations on the economy. The impact is always negative. First of all,
值得一提的是，罗兰贝格是全球5大顶级战略管理咨询公司中唯一一家欧洲企业。今年是中国欧盟建立外交关系50周年。戴普说，中欧远隔万里，如果不是双方强烈的互相投资贸易合作需求，罗兰贝格的生意就不会做得这么大。2024年，中欧货物贸易进出口总额接近7900亿美元，中欧班列全年开行1.9万列，增长10%。
There is obviously strong leadership of Chinese companies in this field, and one let's say key way for Chinese companies to maintain their market share in Europe is to invest in Europe. This is not so different from what China 7 decades ago had asked from the same European companies to do to be able to access the Chinese market.
在谈及特朗普冲击2.0时，戴普认为欧洲需要更多的平衡思维。美国已经不是过去的那个美国了，欧洲人对此印象深刻。
It will probably be a bit more open to China. Simply because the context has changed. So a bit irrespective of whatever coalition is forming the new German government, I think some tension will remain with China, also as part of the overall European approach to China to rebalance the relationship. However, I think the new chancellor has already mentioned that Germany needed to reevaluate its positioning versus America, and that implicitly means that relationship with China might become again a bit more important.